Hi, and this is Mimi again. I'm happy to be with you today for another lesson on how to select documents for filing or for removal. Well, filing is always controversial in a workplace because there is this debate that people often have to file or not to file, and that is really the question. So when you are trying to decide on whether to file or discard your papers, it's best to know a document's use-by date. It's important that organizations check their records management policy in terms of keeping documents or discarding them. Some organizations have policies that allow them to keep records for up to 3 years before they are put on storage, but some would require longer, some shorter. It just depends on the type of documents that they have as part of their core business. So my caveat for this is do not assume that a document is to be put away even if it just gathers dust. I've got some experience in the past where I thought that those documents are not needed because they're just lying there in a corner. But we realized that those documents are very precious. Sometimes those that are gathering dust are the most important ones. That's why we couldn't throw it away. So what do you do? If you decide to file your paperwork, look at your overfilled folders. It may be a signal that it's time to check if there are some things in there that can be discarded. Usually if those are minutes of the meetings that have been filed for over a year ago, but you really know that each one has an electronic version of it, then I think perhaps if it's overfilling that folder, you can discard the very, very old versions and then keep the more recent ones in that pocket file. The other thing is, what do you do with the duplicates? If you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 copies of the same document, I think it would be good to really discard most of the copies and keep 1 or 2. So you have a backup of each. Again, if there's an electronic version of it, then you can keep 1 or totally discard the paper copy. Again, it depends on policy of your workplace if you require both paper and electronic copies available to retrieve when you need it. The other thing is, if you only have purely paper copies, I think it's about time that you consider converting it to an electronic copy. That means scanning it and saving it as a PDF and storing it in a certain folder or G drive or H drive or whatever kind of drive you have, or wherever in your server that stores a lot of the data. So the electronic filing system that you will create, I would suggest, needs to be consistent in terms of naming the files and location of the files of where you have the paper copies. So the paper-based system will usually have a file tree or the location or how you organize it. For example, do you do alphabetical or by year or by company or things like that? So do the same filing system for your e-copies. And then the file tree. So the file tree is that main document that tells you where things are, needs to be available for all users of the file, so not just yourself. So if you can print a copy and send it to everyone or put it in a place where people can easily access it, that would also be good. To continue the filing strategies, I also suggest that you create a master document indicating what documents are available and where these are filed, or if they were to be sent to storage or have already been in storage for quite some time now, make sure that there's a spreadsheet at least or a file where it has all the remarks or annotations of what happened to that file. I also had an experience before that we were looking at a particular letter that was sent to us by a minister of the parliament, and we couldn't find it and nobody knows where it is. It's a good thing that we have a central document registry, so we knew that it was sent to a specific department and we forgot to retrieve it from that department. And there was that date and the person that received the document. So we were able to trace where the document was and we were able to put it back where it belonged, which is in our filing system. So this is that particular instance where this scenario will come into place. And also put remarks if the paper was actually discarded, shredded, or if only electronic copies are available, so people know where to look for it in your e-directory. So also make sure there's a place in your office where you keep the paper copies. It should not be sitting, one set of files sitting with one worker and another set of files in another person's bookcase. All filing needs to be in a room, a dedicated room where people can access it. So a one central place for everything. Then the other thing that you might want to do is do a yearly audit and review of whether a document is still being actively used. When we say active, it could mean anywhere between 3 to 6 months or 6 to 12 months. Then decide whether the document will still be required. I suggest if you have a records officer or a records management officer or a person assigned to do this, that the person is with you when you actually do the exercise, because sometimes it's difficult to decide on what to do with the paper on your own. It needs a team to do this exercise. Now, those are for the filing. Now, what do you do with your discarded paper? You either shred them, throw them away in a secure bin, and this means an external provider will dispose of that for you, especially for files with sensitive information, or decide if some of those papers can be recycled, meaning if it can be put back into the printer or used as a scrap paper. So when you put that back in the printer, you have a specific tray that everyone knows that only recycled paper will be put in that printer tray, so it doesn't get confused with the clean paper. So one of the things that you can do in your office is to reduce, reuse, and recycle paper. That'll save you ordering too much paper, and it'll also help you, save on wasted paper. Right, so the other thing that you can do for papers that you don't need but you want to do some fundraising is to sell them to junk shops or companies that actually buy this and recycle it to make new paper. Sometimes they are collected and you are paid per kilogram or per box that you give to them. So it just depends on who you ring locally to find out if they actually do this service. Or you can donate those pieces of paper to charity groups who can convert those papers into like crafty things, like paper baskets or some other projects they can use. For example, if you want to donate it in a school, that's also fine, as long as the information that are already printed there are, again, not sensitive. Right, and then the other thing that we could do with discarded paper is just to put it in storage. You certainly don't want to throw it away for now, but want to come back and review it later on, but you just don't want it in your office. So put it in storage and have a list of what sort of papers were stored, which box number you put it in, and the date for when you sent it out. So this appears to be very tedious. In some cases it is tedious. I've been involved in a similar exercise before, but once you have that list, you'll be able to confidently know that you have an efficient system in place, and you will be confident to say that your paper filing system is doing its job for you. You are not running the risk of having random papers at the office, especially if you carry a lot of sensitive stuff. So again, I hope you have appreciated the valuable lessons that we've discussed today about paper filing, and don't just simply take paper for granted. Try it and see how you go. And if you need more assistance, please contact me, Mimi. I'm always available to give you a helping hand. So that's it for now. Have a great day, and I'll see you at the next lesson.